Good afternoon and welcome to Cooking with Lord Humungus. 2020 went to shit. I took over the wasteland. You motherfuckers can't cook and I'm here to fix that. Last week, we did Colonel Lord Humungus's Kentucky Fried Chicken. This week, we're going classic old school, and I mean fucking OG old school. This is a recipe from Julia Child, the original fucking gangster of cooking education. That bitch could rise from her grave, walk into my kitchen right now, slap the fucking colander off my face, and I would say, "Thank you, ma'am, can I have another?" Today, we are doing French chocolate mousse. Now, supposedly, chocolate mousse was invented by some motherfucker named Henri Toulouse-Lautrec, a French painter from way back when. He couldn't be reached for comment. Either way, we're doing this. We're doing this old school. So, what we're going to start with here, I've already measured all this shit out, and don't worry, I'll put the actual recipe in the comments for you in the description. By the way, we've got a Patreon now. Somebody was actually even gullible enough to sign up for it. Let's say we get 1,000 Patreons, we're going to do baking with Lady Humungus. She's giving me a hard no on this, but if we get 1,000 Patreons, I'm hiring a fucking stunt Lady Humungus, and you're going to like it, and she's going to read the recipe for you. Anyway, what we've got here is 6 ounces of unsalted butter, 6 ounces of bittersweet chocolate. Now, this could be some stretch content or bonus content for the Patreon if you guys are interested. I could talk about chocolate there. I don't fucking know what I'm doing with this shit, so let me know what you want to see. This is 72%? Yeah, 72. I've also got some dark chocolate chunks here, which a little bit lighter, 62% cacao. We could talk about that on Patreon. Y'all need to let me know. Sign up, smash like, subscribe, and all that happy horse shit. This is going in a steel bowl right now, and what we're going to do is we're going to double boil it. I've already got some water up to temperature here in a pot. We just want this to simmer. Now, this doesn't need to come all the way up the side of your pot, and there's 2 ways to do this. I like this way because I know what my stove is doing, even if I don't always check the temperature precisely, like last week with the fried chicken fuck-up. Fuck you, cat. Option 1 is just some water in a pot like this. Put your bowl over the top. Should just barely float like that. You can see it wobbling around. If you're not sure, pull it out, check the bottom on it, see how wet it is. Just like I did with your mom. Other option, take a skillet, put a towel in it, put the water in that. This is not up to temperature because I'm not fucking around with this shit. This is just for demonstration. Put that in there, and once it's nice and warm, you can do the same thing. Either way, we've got butter, we've got chocolate. I think I put something else in there, and I'll put that in the description anyway. Drop that on there and let it start getting happy. You're going to want a towel for this because this is going to get toasty. Stir it around, start melting this shit. The reason we're doing this in a double boiler is because you don't want to burn the chocolate. Now, we are not doing this entirely hardcore. You can do this with literally 2 ingredients. You can do this with nothing more than chocolate and eggs. But y'all are too chicken shit to do this with anything other than a box of Jell-O brand anyway, so we're going to go a little bit easy mode here. Stir this around. Look at this. Everything's already nice and melty. Keep going. Water's nice and warm. Doesn't take long. You want your chocolate to be in fairly small chunks for this, and the good news is you can buy it that way already at the store and not have to fuck around with chopping your chocolate, because chopping chocolate is a pain in the ass. Alright, this is looking nice and smooth. So, when it looks nice and smooth and silky like that, go ahead and pull it off. Now, if you want to get fussy, you can bitch that I'm going to use Pyrex on this. But Pyrex is heat resistant. It's going to be pretty okay since we're double boiling. This is fairly gentle. This would probably be safer in this setup. Do I look like I fucking care about safety? This goes on the double boiler. This is for egg yolks and a few other things that you will see in the recipe in the description. There's some strong coffee extract in there. You can either make it yourself, just make it strong as fuck, or you can run to your local coffee shop like I did, which I patronize because the baker there has amazing tits. You can pour that in there too. Now, also in this, in the chocolate, I added just a very light pinch of kosher salt because chocolate fucking loves salt. Anyway, we're doing the same thing here with these yolks. We're double boiling them. At this point, we're getting to a fairly runny mayonnaise looking situation. Keep stirring that around. Get it a little bit thick, make sure everything is incorporated nicely. Okay, that's some very runny mayonnaise, so this might not come out quite as photogenic as I want. But once we get to here, we're going to quench this shit. I've got an ice bath over here. This goes in. This is where it gets tricky on the Pyrex. But hey, look, Pyrex. It's designed for thermal shock. Now, we're going to whisk this around a little bit longer. And bringing it over here while this thickens up. One thing, this is not my personal favorite brand of rum, but it's a good one. Here's a rule that motherfuckers break all the goddamn time. If you wouldn't drink it, don't fucking cook with it. That shit they sell in the grocery store is cooking wine, cooking sherry. Have you tasted that shit? It tastes like salt. It's awful. It's horrible. This is starting to thicken up a little bit. I'd like it a little bit thicker, but we're going to be okay because the chocolate's going to help us out here. So, from here, we're going to combine these two things. Now, OG Julia says we should fold this together. I am going to digress. I'm just going to go ahead and whisk them together. Now, the reason we're doing this with extra liquid is because if you try to do this with straight chocolate, as you get it warm, there's a problem that can occur called seizing. The reason for this is the chocolate is actually surprisingly dry. Now, if you've ever stuck your spoon in a cup of coffee and then stuck that into the dry sugar, you see how clumpy it gets? That's exactly what happens with this. Now, if you pour a shitload of water into sugar, then it just fucking dissolves. That liquid helps us buffer this, and that's how we're going to keep you safe. If you want to try this the hardcore method and your chocolate seizes, then let's just go back to this. Get some liquid in there and it'll loosen right up. The magic ratio you're looking for here for the liquid to chocolate to keep everything safe is you want 1 tablespoon of H2O-like liquid. That can be rum, that can be coffee, that can even just fucking be water if you're boring, to every 2 ounces by weight of chocolate. We're sticking to that ratio right now. We don't need this heat anymore. Now, the second component to chocolate mousse, look at this. It's silky, it's smooth, it's fucking beautiful. Is egg foam. This is basically the same thing as meringue. It's just whipped eggs. Now the problem that happens here is if you get any fat whatsoever in your egg whites, and we've got to separate these eggs, that fat will literally burst your bubbles. And if you're making a foam, that is literally what you're doing, is blowing bubbles. Just like your dad blew bubbles in my ass last night. So, you got to separate your eggs. Like I said over here, we had 4 yolks going into that chocolate. We're going to have 4 whites going into this pan, or pot, mixing bowl. That fucking thing right there, Jesus Christ, don't make me enunciate every little detail. Anywho, the best way to separate eggs, this hand. Same thing that went up your dad's ass last night. Don't worry, I washed it. It's cool. You definitely want to crack your eggs on a flat surface this time. If you risk going on the edge of the bowl, you're going to risk puncturing the yolk, and then you might get some of that yolk fat in with your whites, which is a fucking problem. These I'm going to save for a second batch of this for later, which I'll show you in just a minute why there's going to be 2 batches. Frankly, the reason there's going to be 2 batches, I'm going to sit on the sofa and I'm going to binge watch Good Eats and I'm going to rub this shit in my nipples and I'm going to eat the whole fucking bowl. Anyway, crack it. Very gently. Just let it run. Oh shit, it broke. And that is fucked up. Hit pause, please. Okay, so the yolk was not cooperating on that first crack. We're trying this again. Like I was saying, go on a flat surface. Be very gentle with this. These are store-bought eggs just so that we can do an apples to apples, even though I'm going to do some apples to oranges shit here in a few minutes. Very gentle crack. Into your hand. Alright, this one's playing ball. Your dad plays ball. Now, you're going to have a little bit of dangle on here. let's not talk about dangle with this outfit. Squeeze your hand together, pinch that shit off, well, like you're pinching shit off. Hang on to that yolk. A little bit of white in your yolks is not going to matter. A little bit of yolks in your white, that's going to fucking matter. Now I've already got 4 whites in this mixing bowl. Stand mixer is your friend. You can mix this in glass, you can do it by hand, you can use stainless steel, but you don't want to do this in a plastic bowl. The polymers in plastic are too close molecularly to the fat in the yolks, and it's going to be a pain in the ass, and plus that shit binds to other fats, and it never cleans all the way out as purely as we need for what's going on here. Since we're doing this in a stainless steel bowl, I've also added 1/8 of a teaspoon of cream of tartar per white to this. This brings a little bit of acid and helps stabilize the foam. While this is working, and we're going to go to stiff peaks on this, I'm going to show you the other option, which is a little bit more OG old school. Bring this up. Start it slow. Wait until this looks about as frothy as your mom's mouth on my cock. Yeah, she takes a while too. And then you can start putting the spurs to it. Important safety warning on this thing, by the way. Now your other option is to go super OG and use a copper bowl. What happens when you use copper, it's a physics thing, not a chemistry thing. Copper is reactive. Have you ever noticed how if you leave this shit sit out for a while, it gets all tarnished in about 30 seconds? Well, these ions are about as promiscuous as your sister. So, I've been beating the shit out of these like I was whacking it last night, and I've taken these to medium peaks. See the way this... Oh shit, it's stiffened up in the fridge. This is closer to stiff peaks. Medium peaks, this will start to droop over a little bit. Holds its shape, this is closer to stiff peaks. These are medium stiff, about like me. Either way, we have basically just put a shitload of air in this stuff. The copper helps with that, it makes it go a little faster, and you're going to get a slightly different texture. If you want to really get hardcore about this and do your own fucking science, get one of these bowls. They're actually not that spendy. They're a little spendy. I managed to come into this one. Never mind, we'll just leave that right there. But whip 3 egg whites to medium stiff peaks in a copper bowl. Do it in stainless steel like this. Do it in glass. Compare the results for yourself. You'll see a difference in texture. Right now we're going to pause for a minute because this thing is not going as fast as I wanted. Okay, now these egg whites are starting to hold their shape. They're getting a little bit shiny. Take a look in here, you'll see they're starting to thicken up a little bit. We've beat a good deal of air in here. What we're going to do at this point is we're going to bring a little bit more flavor to the party. I did this exact same thing with the shit in the copper bowl. We're going to add a half a teaspoon of good vanilla. You know how I know this is good vanilla? I fucking made it myself. You guys want some bonus vanilla content? Hit me up in the comments. Subscribe to the Patreon. Let's see how it goes. Anyway, half a teaspoon of vanilla goes in. We're also going to add 1 more tablespoon of sugar. You'll also note I've transferred the chocolate chip to a copper bowl. There's 2/3 of a cup in sugar there, so this is going to be sweet. Dump that in. This will also help stabilize the foam. The cream of tartar is going to be doing the heavy lifting on the stabilization, but the sugar is going to help, and it's also going to bring more flavor to the party. Those 2 things added. And now we wait a few more seconds. This is probably going to take long enough it's worth pausing again. Alright, total whip time on this has been somewhere in the neighborhood of a couple of minutes. It's too long to show you guys the entire process, but we're there now. Go ahead and kill this. Drop the bowl. And if you look at that, they're holding their shape. We're at stiff peaks again. Now the test I was talking about, I haven't actually tried this, so we're going to see how it goes. You take the steel bowl version, give it a smear down, a little bit of stainless sheet pan there, and it looks like that. Now let's see what the copper bowl looks like. Same thing, It's taking a little bit off the corner here. Yeah, you can see that's a lot finer. So I'm going to use the copper bowl version of this, and like I said, I'm going to fold the other stuff into another batch here in a little bit for my own personal use. Now the operative term we got here is fold. We spent a lot of time putting a lot of air into this shit. My wrist hurts after doing that much whipping. I could have used a hand mixer, but I don't fucking have one. If you want to get super hardcore about this, you can buy an all copper whisk too. This is still a little bit warm, so what we're going to do is we're going to temper, and we're going to put a little bit of this in to start with, and we're going to go ahead and stir at this point. At this point, it doesn't matter if we knock a little air out. Mix that shit up, that'll cool your chocolate down a little bit. Now is when technique starts to matter. We're going to put about half of what's left in. That can just sit there in the ice bath. And what we're doing is folding. Take your spatula, straight down the middle, go underneath, and flip it over. Turn your bowl a little, straight down the middle, underneath, flip it over a little. Turn your bowl, straight down the middle, flip it over. We're trying not to knock the air out of that foam we put in. Doesn't matter if you get this thing perfectly combined. In fact, it's a little bit better if you still have a few streaks. But you want to mostly incorporate it. Starting to look pretty good here. Knock that in. Try not to drip any water in, that wouldn't be the greatest thing. And add the rest of your eggs. Same thing. Cut down the middle, flip it over, turn. Cut, flip, turn. This is still a little streakier than I'd like it, so I'm going to keep going. But if you look, it's holding most of its volume. We're not knocking a lot of air out of this. The air is what makes this mousse nice, light, and fluffy. That's what makes it special. I heard somewhere, and I don't speak French, so I can't confirm, mousse is French for froth. Doesn't that sound delightful? Let's eat some chocolate froth. Right about here, I got this one last little glob. I'm going to give him just a little, there we go, spank, spank, spank. There we go. Just walk away. That's it. There's a few streaks left in there, not a big fucking deal. You can also do this with whipped cream because some people are chicken shit about raw eggs. This has raw eggs if you didn't notice. Your other option if you're chicken shit about raw eggs is you can use pasteurized eggs. At this point in America, I don't know what third world shithole wasteland you're living in, but my wasteland has some pretty decent chickens. So I feel comfortable eating this. If you don't, you can do the same thing with whipped cream. All you do is instead of making that egg foam, you make whipped cream and then you fold that in. Otherwise, it's exactly the same. This is it. From here, your best bet is to put this in serving cups if you're not going to just sit on the sofa and be obscene. And then put that in the fridge for at least 45 minutes. It needs to set up. The chocolate was still a little bit warm, so it's not going to hold its final shape just yet. You can shove the whole bowl in there and let that set up and then dish it into portion cups if you're serving it to your friends. They're finally coming back to your house, so you can flex now. Either way, let it set up. This will keep in the fridge for about 4 days if it lasts that long. Otherwise, that concludes Wasteland Chocolate Mousse. Recipe will go in the description. Hit like, smash, subscribe, all that fucking horse shit. I can't believe I'm actually saying this. Go sign up for the Patreon. The link will be for that in the comments and the description as well. Like I said, we hit 1,000. I'm getting a stunt lady Humungus out here to teach you to bake. Yourself. Either way, thank you. This has been Cooking with Lord Humungus, Chocolate Mousse Edition. Good night.